Have you ever been in love? And I do not talk about some butterflies in your tummy. I talk about the intense feeling of infatuation here. Being obsessively fixated on someone and maybe a person you just met and don't even know. Today, we will find out together where this phenomenon actually comes from. Welcome to today's episode. My name is Robert, and today we talk about the phenomenon of infatuation. So first of all, even if no one ever talks about this topic because it's kind of a taboo, I think it is completely normal and widely spread, especially in more sensitive people, but also in the variety of the whole population. I think it's a well-known phenomenon. I believe that everyone experiences some kinds of infatuation from time to time. However, strong infatuation can be extremely unpleasant. You can't think about anything else anymore but that one person. Your complete attention is magnetically focused on them. So what you do is you try to do everything to convince that person of you and to bound them to you. Even if you just only texted with them before, for example, in the context of a dating app, and even if you don't even know anything about that human being. So I want to tell you a story. A few days ago, I was having an after-work drink with a friend of mine in the evening, and we were sitting in an outdoor bar and talking about life. So he was telling me about his previous vacation with some friends, and on that trip he and the group got to know a few more people. And there was suddenly for him someone entering the place he really liked from the beginning. And even though they had just met that day, he just could think of this person and was obsessed with having a crush during the whole trip. So this short-term, intense emotional rush overwhelmed him. And he didn't understand why he was losing control of his emotion. Also, he felt guilty towards his friends since his attention was now much less on the group and much more on this person he just had met. So what he did, he rejected this side of himself so much that it was even hard for him telling me about it and opening up about it because he felt ashamed. And I can fully understand that because it happened to me as well so many times. And I believe that many people experience that regularly. The thing is, you just don't talk about infatuation. You just don't talk about obsessive feelings and loss of control, do you? You feel ashamed and it makes you feel weak and you feel exposed and not good enough. Can you relate to that? If you still feel that you do not exactly understand what I mean by the term of infatuation, let me explain to you. Here are a couple really specific signs how infatuation actually can show up, and I'm sure that you might experience some of these before. First of all, the feelings you sense for that specific other person come on fast and strong out of a sudden. Then there is a strong sense of obsession or urgency around that connection or relationship. Also, you feel addicted and seek the attention of that person. Then you can see this person maybe as better than yourself in a way. Also, you can feel that you need the other person to feel fulfilled again in a way and feel extremely attracted to that person. Also, it can happen that you may feel insecure about the relationship if you're in a relationship with that person, and that you're very careful on how you behave, on how you communicate with that person, so it develops a quite difficult dynamic in that relationship. And last but not least, you overthink every little detail of how you behave and look for tiny signs and signals in the behavior of the other person, if the person might like you or might dislike you. So now it gets exciting because we want to figure out, where does this behavior exactly come from? Simply spoken, there is a younger part in all of us. Maybe you've heard about it. Pretty common term these days is the inner child. And this part of our personality, of your personality, of my personality, remembers the first years on this planet when you were a really young child. We all experience that, being a young child. So if we meet someone who you think is pretty attractive, or you are already in a relationship with someone you think who is really attractive, this younger part of your personality puts the other person on a pedestal. Why do we do that? Why do we feel that the other person we just met or we are in a relationship with is better than us? Behind this, there is the deep desire we had as a small child, so the inner child, right? The part of your personality that experienced the first years. There is the deep desire to finally find these parents, the deep security and primal trust that these younger parts have always longed for and that they have never really received in reality like this in the past. When you meet someone you find really attractive, that's technically a trigger that reminds you, or this part of your personality, the younger parts of the early years. And this trigger in combination with that reminder brings out the early parts of your childhood and brings them back up to your current reality. I think it's incredibly exciting how we then feel emotionally exactly as we did then. Even if you cannot remind that, even if you cannot put yourself back in that situation and you pushed it away, difficult years, the early years, you still feel how you've potentially felt, which is often small, insecure, powerless, at the mercy of others, not heard and dependent. So these young parts that we feel in such situations, they want our help. They want your help because they are chained to the deep pain of the past and crave for unconditional love and basic trust. They want to feel understood and heard. So especially if your relationship with your caregivers was quite ambiguous, you might find yourself swinging between intense positive emotions whenever you get attention from that potential partner you're actually dating or the partner you're in a relationship with, and intense negative emotions on the other side when someone removes their attention. As a brilliant way to change these circumstances, our brain, pretty tricky, creates an illusion with the person we are just getting to know or we are in a relationship with. And on this person, we then project a helping savior. This is also why infatuation can happen, especially with people we just met and barely know, because the inner child, out of this projection, then thinks there is a potential chance that this person will come along and will take me as I am, profoundly loves, understands and accepts me on the deepest level. So that's pure redemption. And the thing is, as long as we do not come to aid ourselves of these younger parts, they look for salvation in our potential and actual partners. And to close that circle, this is how it actually feels like: obsession, infatuation, and putting the potential partner or partner on a pedestal. Also really interesting, if you experienced that before, this creates a power dynamic in the relationship that does not allow our adult selves to be in charge then. And this also causes panic in many people because they're super afraid to fall back into that childhood patterns that they make them lose control over their adult selves. Now the path of healing begins with understanding where this behavior actually comes from, and with that you've taken the first step here and now. And this is what I also definitely want to recommend you if you want to try to understand that. For me, I think this was one of the most important to-dos because I also sense that I was pushing it away. And I believe that many people feel quite ashamed of that. This is why there is not much talk about it out there, because people try to deny it, try to push it away. They feel like it's giving them the feeling of powerlessness. They cannot really categorize these feelings. But become truly understanding with this part of yourself is actually the solution. Be there for him or her. Definitely a lot of work and compassion is needed here, but I believe it's definitely doable with a lot of patience for yourself. So, I'm aware that this is a really deep and complex topic and that you may take some time to reflect on it a bit more. Also, seeking professional help and therapy might be pretty useful if you find yourself getting infatuated easily. And if you're struggling now and listening to this episode, see it as a starting point for further self-investigations. For me, it also took me, as I said, 10 years to get to this point, to finally understand these younger parts in a better way and to finally also take care of them and listen to them. So if you enjoyed this episode, definitely let me know in the comments below. And if you felt infatuated or had obsessive thoughts with someone you just met in the past and developed new strategies and want to share your perspectives, definitely do so in the comments. I'm happy to read about it. Also, definitely subscribe to the podcast here on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen, and I see and speak to you in the next episode.